Previously on Part 1, the series opens in the year 2418, about 400 years in the future, to a world taken over by technology. Humans and aliens from vast space have achieved a great feat in technological advancements, and have allied to explore more of the unknown parts of the universe. The series continues to a flashback scene on Earth where Mercer arrives by a commuter pod at his apartment in New York City. He hears his wife, Kelly Grayson, a lieutenant commander, giggle from the bedroom. Mercer opens the door to find Kelly in bed with a Retepsian named Aurelio, who is a forensic archaeologist. Retepsians are a race of space flight-capable humanoids of the planet Retepsia. Kelly pleads that she can explain everything, but her enraged husband enters his pod and leaves. A year later, Admiral, or the head of the officers, Tom Halsey, calls Mercer to his office in Planetary Union Central, the headquarters of the Planetary Union located in New York City. Planetary Union is a growing alliance of different societies in space, dedicated to exploration. Halsey informs that Mercer's performance in the past year has noticeably declined, as tardiness and sloppiness hurt his record. However, Mercer tries to justify that he was going through a painful divorce with his wife Kelly. Since the Union has over 3,000 ships to staff, they need captains. So, Halsey offers Mercer to command of the U.S.S. Orville, a mid-level exploratory cruiser. Mercer immediately accepts and hurries to find Gordon Malloy, a former pilot, to enlist him as helmsman of his new ship. Here, it is revealed that Malloy is one of the best pilots on Earth. Mercer and Malloy then fly to the Union dockyard orbiting Earth, where the Orville awaits. Once inside the ship, Mercer introduces himself as the new captain to the crew members. He meets the senior staff consisting of diverse species from different planets. First is Chief of Security Alara Kitten, who is a Zalayan from a planet called Zalea. Her planet's gravitational pull is high compared to the planetary average, so Alara's physical strength is incredibly higher than other species. Next is Navigator John Lamar, a human officer, then Second Officer Bordas, a Moclan, which is a humanoid species native to the planet Moclus. Moclans are single-gender species, as their entire species is male. Next, Chief Medical Officer and Lieutenant Commander Claire Finn, and the last one, Science and Engineering Officer Isaac, a Kalon. Kalons are a species of artificial life forms from the planet Kalon 1. In the next scene, Admiral Halsey tours the ship's interior with Mercer one final time before wishing the captain good luck. He reminds Mercer of his mission to deliver supplies to the Epsilon Science Station on the colony planet Epsilon 2, which is an outpost devoted exclusively to scientific inquiry. Mercer wonders who might be his first officer, and Halsey assures him he'll be meeting her soon. The Orville departs the dockyard and embarks on its first mission. While en route, Halsey sends a message to Alara to pick up their new first officer in a nearby station. Alara forwards the order to Mercer, and after reading who his new officer is, he quickly stampedes to his office. Later, he calls Halsey, enraged that his new first officer is none other than his ex-wife, Kelly Grayson. Halsey explains that Kelly's skill sets are compatible with that of Mercer, and adds that complaining about the placement on his first day isn't good. Hearing this, Mercer reluctantly agrees, as he has no other choice. In the following scene, Kelly enters Mercer's office and apologizes for her affair, but their conversation quickly devolves into an argument about their relationship before the divorce. Kelly concludes by saying that she will transfer to another ship as soon as the board lets her before leaving the office. She then meets Malloy in the hall. She hopes that their relationship will be professional since Malloy and Mercer are close friends. Later, the Orville arrives at the atmosphere of planet Epsilon 2. Mercer virtually speaks with the Epsilon Science Station's overseer, Dr. Aronov, but he looks panicked. He tells Mercer that his station needs no supplies, but the request was sent for an urgent matter that he will only discuss privately. Shortly after, a small team of Mercer, Kelly, Dr. Claire, and Alara is formed, and Mercer leads the way to meet Dr. Aronov. They arrive at the surface of the science station in a shuttle. Dr. Aronov gives the team a brief tour of the facility, including giving Mercer a handful of modified redwood seeds that can grow into a tree in any environment. He then ushers them into a wing of the facility where temporal fields are studied. A recent breakthrough has led to the creation of a quantum accelerator, a device that can accelerate time inside a quantum bubble. Janice Lee, a physicist and a researcher, demonstrates by aging a month-old banana to 100 years in only seconds. Meanwhile, Alara notes that the accelerator is more than scientific equipment. It can be used as a weapon too. Suddenly, a lab technician pulls out a gun and demands the accelerator. The technician is Derek Ashton, an undercover Krill spy. Krill is an aggressive, reptilian species from a planet of the same name. The species is the Union's primary antagonist. Derek calls for the Krill soldiers to raid the facility and steal the device. From the Orville, Bortus attempts to communicate with Mercer, but Derek threatens Mercer to say that he is fine. Meanwhile, the Krill soldiers land from their ship and rummage the science station. Luckily, Alara manages to hit Derek and put him under control. Then, the team along with Dr. Arnov grabs the accelerator and flees to the shuttle, while the Krill soldiers chase behind them. On the other hand, Bortus and others in the Orville are finally aware of the situation and distract the Krill ship by firing on it. Meanwhile, Mercer and his team manage to get back on the shuttle safely with the accelerator. Just as they are near the Orville, a Krill soldier, who managed to board the shuttle, interrupts them and threatens with his gun, demanding the device. Mercer quickly accelerates the shuttle at a rapid speed, which sends the soldier flying into the front of the ship. They then finally reach the Orville. During the fight with the Krill ship earlier, the spatial coils of the Orville got damaged, so the ship is no longer able to match the Krill captain in further battle. While in virtual communication, the Krill captain demands the device, else he will destroy the Orville. With time running out, Kelly comes up with an idea. She places a redwood seed inside the quantum accelerator device and sends it to the Krill by a remote shuttle. When the shuttle reaches the Krill ship, Mercer remotely activates the accelerator device, causing the seed to grow rapidly into a massive redwood tree and destroying the enemy ship. Later, in Mercer's office, Kelly announces that she will transfer to another ship as promised. However, Mercer requests her to stay, claiming that she is a brilliant officer who saved the day. Next, Kelly meets Admiral Halsey in his office in New York to thank him for her position at the Orville. It is also revealed that she was the one who requested Halsey to promote Mercer to the position of captain. In the following scene, Second Officer Bortus visits Mercer's office to request a leave of absence. He is going to nest his egg with his mate Clyden for the next 3 weeks, since the Mocklin species reproduce by laying eggs, which require 21 days of brooding to hatch. Being the understanding man that he is, Mercer approves of the leave. Next, the Orville receives an emergency distress message from a fellow ship, Blériot, which has been attacked by the Krill. The ship's captain says that although their vessel is damaged, the passengers and crew are alive, so they need an evacuation plan. To Mercer's surprise, his parents are also on board. Hence, he, along with Kelly, immediately head to the Blériot via a shuttle. With Bortus on leave, Mercer assigns Alara as the acting captain of the Orville. But as soon as Mercer and Kelly enter the Blériot, it disappears with the two on it. It turns out that the ship was actually a holographic simulation. Later, Alara and others frantically search for the missing commanders. Apparently, the holographic projection was from a remote buoy, so Alara orders navigator John Lamar to retrieve it. But things don't go as planned when the buoy explodes, compromising the Orville's bay. Alara immediately goes to check the buoy, where Chief Engineer Steve Newton reports that there are minor injuries, but fortunately the ship's protective force field avoided serious damage. Meanwhile, Mercer and Kelly find themselves in a replica of their old apartment in New York City from when they were married. Back at the Orville, Isaac discovers a molecular trail that may lead to where their commanders were sent. So, Alara orders to follow the trail through the scanner, which identifies the trail to a Calavan world. She then reports the finding to the current admiral, Admiral Tucker, but he explicitly forbids Alara to approach the planet. He claims that the Calavan is an extremely advanced species who view all other life forms as inferior and simplistic. In the meantime, Mercer and Kelly wake up and realize that they are actually kept in a cell in a Calavan zoo. The species who have been kept in other cells explain to the commanders that the Calavan like to make a show of any technologically inferior species and keep them in their zoo for entertainment. Back at the Orville, Alara decides to approach the Calavan and save her senior commanders, overriding the Admiral's orders. The Orville then enters the Calavan space via a holographically cloaked shuttle. In the next scene, Isaac and Alara fly down to the zoo with the former pretending to be the pet owner of the latter. Since Isaac is a Kalon, a highly advanced species on par with the Calavan, he is highly respected by them. After reaching, the duo meets with the zookeeper, and Isaac requests his commanders be freed. However, when the zookeeper refuses, Alara offers him something valuable in return. Surprisingly, the zookeeper accepts the deal and the commanders are finally released. In the next scene, Mercer and Kelly are safely back on board the Orville, and Alara is awarded a Sapphire Star for her exemplary leadership. Later at a celebratory party, Alara reveals to her colleagues that she offered archives of reality television from the 21st century, including Keeping Up with the Kardashians, that the Calavans can watch at their zoo. Meanwhile, Bortus and Clyden notice their egg beginning to hatch. They are shocked to see that their baby is female. The crew members marvel over the birth of a newborn female Mocklin, which is extremely rare in the Mocklin species. However, Bortus wants Dr. Claire to perform a procedure to change his daughter's sex to male so that she will be compatible with Moclus's all-male society. The doctor obviously refuses to conduct such an unethical act, prompting Bortus to ask the captain for help. As expected, Mercer also refuses, and he sends Bortus away. In the next scene, Alara announces to the team that there is a Moclan ship arriving at the Orville's bay, and the captain of the ship, Captain Vorak, wants to talk to Mercer. She then puts Vorak on, who says that a staff member of the Orville requested a rendezvous to take the child of Bortus and Clyden to Moclan. Learning this, Mercer becomes infuriated that Bortus went behind his back to request the pickup, and that the parents will forcibly change the sex of their child. As a result, he relieves Bortus off duty while abruptly cutting the call with Captain Vorak. Later, Malloy and Navigator Lamar go to check on Bortus in his quarters. They bring beer and watch Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer together. The experience changes Bortus's mind. Without Rudolph's infamous nose, Santa would not have been able to complete his voyage, and there would be no Christmas. In the next scene, Bortus tells Clyden that he wants to raise their child as a female, as her future is uncertain, and she could do many great things like red-nosed Rudolph. However, Clyden is adamant that she will be an outcast in Moclan society. He then confides in Bortus that he too was born a female. The admission, however, still doesn't change Bortus's opinion, and the two get into an argument. After a while, Captain Vorak arrives at the Orville and lashes out at Mercer and Kelly for refusing to release Bortus's child so that they can take her to Moclan and conduct the procedure. Meanwhile, Bortus interrupts them by requesting the tribunal to determine the fate of his child. Since Kelly learned interplanetary law for a year, Bortus wants her to be his advocate. Kelly gladly agrees to the request. The tribunal takes place on the planet Moclus. A Moclus advocate, Kagas, representing Clyden, points out that by the time the child will be able to decide which sex to be, she will be psychologically damaged. He adds that as a female, the child will be an outcast in their society, with less physical and intellectual strength than her male counterparts. Meanwhile, Kelly, acting as Bortus's advocate, calls Alara to the stand to prove that females can be stronger than males. After Alara, Kelly calls Malloy and quizzes him on basic Earth history. Malloy fails to answer them, so Kelly is able to demonstrate that not all males are necessarily as intelligent as females. In the meantime, Mercer quietly leaves the court and calls Isaac to scan the surface of the planet Moclus. Isaac, with his superior technological strength, finds a sign of life form in a distant mountain. Mercer then immediately arranges a trip with his navigator Lamar and Alara to the mountains of Moclus. In a small cavern, they find an adult woman, Moclan. Back at the court, Kelly buys some time for Mercer and his team to return with evidence. Soon enough, they return with the female Moclan. She then testifies before the court as Havina, born female and raised by her parents in the mountains, in seclusion. Havina tells the court that she has always been happy and quotes the words of a famed male Moclan writer named Gondis Eldon, which infuriates Kagas. Kagas then calls out Havina for quoting the writer to serve her own purposes. He adds that Gondis Eldon would spit on her if he were present there. Surprisingly, Havina reveals she is actually Gondis Eldon. Whispers flood the tribunal as all realize that Moclus's greatest author was in fact a woman. As a result, the tribunal is adjourned for the arbitration council's verdict. Sometime later, the council returns with their verdict and declares that they don't have sufficient cause to not alter the sex of the child. Bortus becomes sad and speechless, equally enraged with the council's decision. The following day, a Moclan doctor performs the sex change procedure of Bortus's daughter, and the team returns to the Orville. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel grow. Don't forget to watch part 3. Thanks for watching.